Apple has just announced a new iPhone 15, and honestly, this is basically a 14 Pro that has been repackaged into an iPhone 15. We actually see this year over year. The previous year's Pro iPhone becomes the next year's basic standard iPhone. So first and foremost, let's start with the design. Now, the design is basically the same, except that you've got slightly rounded corners. So it technically should be more comfortable in the hand. Now, I personally am not someone that gets invited to the Apple event, so I have not yet had a hands-on experience with it. But just from what I've seen alone, I'm pretty sure that it'll be more comfortable in the hand in general. Now, in terms of the colors, you've got very pastel muted colors. You've got a blue, you've got a green, you've got a yellow, you've got a brand new pink, which hasn't been done before, and then you actually have a black. Now, I was actually happy to see a black because they had been doing for 2 years like this midnight color, which was like a black and blue, but I'd much rather just have a black iPhone. Now, if you want a real good outdoor look at the colors, make sure you're subscribed because every year I do a color comparison for both the standard phones and the Pro models in outdoor lighting conditions. So that should give you a really good idea as to what the phones look like. Now, another design element change is bringing Dynamic Island to the 15. We saw this with the Pro models last year, and now it's just going to be standard across the board. So giving all the iPhones Dynamic Island. Now, honestly, for me, when I got the 14 Pro and I saw Dynamic Island in person, it's cool that they've made this pill-shaped design into an intuitive thing. So when you start a timer, when you're doing voice recordings, your flight status, your Uber, all those things happen there. So they've made it a very intuitive element of the phone instead of it just being a pill that's sitting at the top of the device. But for me personally, having the pill there as opposed to the notch, I notice it a lot more when watching videos or doing anything, and I can't seem to have it like disappear the same way that the notch did. That's just a personal thing, but maybe you feel different. I don't know if you've experienced the Dynamic Island, then drop a comment down below and let me know what you think. Now, lastly, let's talk about USB-C. And this is going to be a big deal for iPhones, but I mean, this has been the standard. And what's really good about this is that now you can have a unified cable to charge your MacBook, your iPad. And if you go to a friend's house that doesn't have an iPhone, then you don't have to worry about bringing a lightning cable with you or having trouble charging your devices when you're on the move. Because now it's going to be great that everybody will just have one universal cable. Now, this is all happening because of European Union's regulations stating that any kind of devices that are being brought to the market by 2024, they all need to have USB-C. And they're doing this for an environmental purpose to reduce cable waste. Also, you have to keep in mind that when any company is making an accessory, they now have to make a USB-C variant and then a Lightning variant. And so now they don't have to do that anymore. Honestly, what I'm happy about most with USB-C is just having to carry one cable when on the move. Because whenever I travel, I always have USB-C cables, Lightning cables, and that's just annoying. Now I can just bring one USB-C cable, one multi-port power brick, and just charge all my devices. Now, one thing to remember in terms of USB-C on the iPhone 15s is the fact that the iPhone 15 standard models will just be getting USB 2 speeds. So it's going to be the same as Lightning. It's only the Pro models that are actually getting the higher USB 3 speeds. Now let's move on to the camera, which is the next major upgrade that is happening to the 15s. The 15s are now getting the 48 megapixel sensor that we found in the 14 Pro and Pro Max last year. So you're going to get automatically much more quality out of your photos, portraits, whatever you're shooting with the camera. And obviously, how much this improves the actual quality and your day-to-day usage is going to be dependent on once I finally get the phones in my hand and get a chance to check them out. So make sure you're subscribed so you can see those videos when they drop. Now with the camera, you're also going to get an automatic portrait mode. this is kind of cool. And this is where having a new processor, which we'll talk about in a second, makes a difference, because what the camera is essentially doing is taking a bunch of pictures beforehand. I mean, you don't even know it, but when it sees a subject in the photo that you're about to take, it'll automatically take a bunch of pictures, so that way it can convert it into a portrait photo and allow you to add depth control later on after the fact. Now, another cool addition is going to be the ability to have 2x zoom. This is going to be a first for the standard phone. So last year you only had 0.5 and 1x. And with optical zoom, it's always better simply because it's happening within the camera instead of you swiping in. And that is digital zoom. So digital zoom always reduces the quality of your pictures. So this, again, is going to be something I'll test out, but should be a great addition. Now let's move on to the display. The display is going to be the same Super Retina XDR display we had last year, but what's improved is your peak brightness. So you're going to get 1000 nits max peak brightness in typical conditions. That's up from 800. Now with HDR, you're going to be able to get 1600 nits max brightness compared to 1200 from last year. And when outdoors, you will be able to get 2000 nits max brightness. Trust me, that is plenty bright. So in terms of outdoor visibility, the iPhone 15 will definitely see a bunch of improvements with the display. Now, last but not least, let's talk about chips. First of all, the A16 Bionic is what is going to be powering the iPhone 15s. This again is the same chip from the previous year's Pro models. Also, the ultra-wideband chip, previously known as the U1, is now being upgraded to the U2 chip. This chip is what helps devices communicate with each other within the Find My network. So let's say you're looking for your AirPods. Well, now it's going to be an even better experience, and you'll be able to find those AirPods from an even greater distance, simply because they're getting more efficient in terms of communicating with each other. So there you have it. Those are the major changes with the iPhone 15. It's finally nice to see Apple add USB-C, which has been an industry standard. The camera improvements are great, the processor, the U2 chip, but we'll see all of this once I finally get the phones in person. I really hope that you found this video helpful and it helped give you an overview of what has changed with the iPhone 15. Thanks for your time. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Comment down below, are you getting an iPhone 15 or maybe you're getting an iPhone 15 Pro? And overall, what do you think of Apple's announcements at the event? Thank you so much. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.